So what's going on, y'all? You back with Bryant, the Apex Gamer, bringing you another UFC 3 ranked gameplay. As you see in the start of this, I am Hanato Moicano taking a beating. I jumped in ranked head first, butt naked, and got body smacked with a spinning kick. It was rough. It was rough. I went right back in there though. Fought a Connor as Duho Choi. It just didn't quite go my way. But it is what it is, no biggie, no sweat off my back, no harm, no foul. But we out here, we gonna catch some fights, and we gonna talk about some MMA. We gonna talk about a crazy turn of events. You know what I'm saying? So okay, Conor McGregor fought Khabib Nurmagomedov, and it went disastrous for him. 2 years off, fighting at lightweight. It just went disastrous for him. It was a bad night. It was a bad night for the sport. Kind of left a black eye on the event. But, I mean, it is what it is. It's fighting. You got aggressive people fighting other aggressive people, so you're going to get some aggressive shenanigans. It just is what it is. And you got to know that going into the event. Everybody knew going into the event that there was some animosity that stemmed from some far, deep, and gut-wrenching area with these fighters. They were friends. They were pals. They were buddies maybe 4 years ago. But when Conor moved up to lightweight, things kind of changed. Their demeanor towards each other changed because they knew they were on a collision course in some way, form, or fashion. Because they both wanted the title, they both want to be at the top of the heap. So it was just, it was gonna happen. So things got personal from the day that Conor moved up a division, and it just never stopped, and it built to a head, and he lost the fight. So now you got a lot of different opinions because of all the shenanigans that went on after the fight. You got a lot of people that feel certain types of ways and want to talk certain types of things. And it is what it is. But look, at the end of the day, these men chose their actions. You can't at home pocket defend these guys. They chose the way they were going to act in the situation and how they were going to react to the situation. These are grown men. But let's skip ahead. Let's talk about the fight in itself. Was I entertained by the fight in itself? The answer is undoubtedly no. Not at all. Not at all. I come from a grappling base, but I am not a grapple first purist. That's just not my modus operandi. I don't like the style matchup. I never have. I never thought it was compelling. I always hate styles make fights. You put a grappler versus a striker. Okay, that's one style versus another style. It's not really like this big difference in style. If you put a submission grappler versus a positional grappler, that's a style versus style matchup that could play out in some sort of historically diversive way. But you put a grappler versus a striker, and it almost always either favors the grappler or the striker catches him before he can grapple. It's never this like... You never hit this point in the fight where it's like, all right, well, the grappler grappled, had success, and now it's having failures, and the striker struck, but had some success and is now struggling. Now they're on equal playing fields, and they're just kind of mixing it up, and magic. No, it wasn't that. The most magical moment that happened in the entire fight that was like that had that feeling, was when Khabib threw that long overhand that touched Conor's chin as he tried to pull Conor and try to catch him on a slick, like backing up hook situation. He tried to meet him in the middle, but catch him with a cleaner, sharper, more direct shot. And it just didn't work out that way. And he got hit on the chin with the punch while he was moving, changing direction. People call it a knockdown. He blasted him. He knocked him down. The dude turned, put his hand on the ground, caught himself, stood back up, big whoop, big wally. Same thing. People was the same way when Anderson Silva got hit with a straight punch by Chael that pushed him down. Big whoop, big wally, holla, holla, holla. I hope that's the crowning moment you want, because if that's the type of things you living by, that's cool, whatever. But I feel like when Khabib uppercut old dude and made him fly, that was probably the more prominent knockdown. But let's talk about that in itself. So, Conor, no excuses. No excuses. He fought a grappler. He knew what he was getting himself into. And people want to talk about, you shouldn't talk shit. You shouldn't talk shit. Don't be talking shit. You don't talk shit when you're confident. You speak what you believe is true and what's gonna happen. Like if you're that skilled, you're that confident. You're not arrogantly being confident. You're like, his grappling ain't shit. He can't grapple me. No, you're thinking his grappling is rock solid, but I'm training and I'm learning this and learning that and sharpening this and sharpening that, and I'm gonna make his grappling not work against me. That's what confidence is. Confidence in your ability. If you don't fight, you don't train, you don't have the wherewithal to even communicate in those lines. So if you sitting at home saying, well, he shouldn't have been so cocky, he wasn't cocky. No fighter is cocky. Every fighter goes into every situation with the mindset that I know what you do, I'm going to beat that. I'm going to do things, and I know how to beat that. I'm going to do the right things, and I'm going to beat that. Nobody goes in blind. An idiot goes in blind, but a fighter, a championship level fighter, and y'all can say what you want. I've read comments from people saying, Connor's a joke. Well, if Connor's a joke, Aldo's a joke. Eddie's a joke. Poirier's a joke. Who else he's beaten? Anybody he's beaten, they're jokes. If he's a joke, they're all jokes because they couldn't beat him. And even if they did beat him, they couldn't beat him. To call a fighter a joke is the most utterly disrespectful thing. So if you sit in the conversation pointing out fighters saying, this guy's a joke, that guy's a joke, you're a joke. Because you know what? He didn't see that comment. So you wasted your energy. You had malice in your heart and you wanted to say something negative just so you look cool. But guess what? That fighter didn't see it. And if he did, he disregarded it. You know why? Because he has the confidence to know what he is capable of and what situations they're capable of doing it in. So you sitting around at home pocket warrioring with your cell phone on Twitter, you're just wasting your breath. But let's get back to the fight at hand. So the fight itself, I didn't find compelling. I don't find it interesting. It's not a good style matchup. Grappler versus striker does not interest me. I'm sorry. I've seen it since the UFC started. It's been the first thing. What happens if this guy who has this amazing grappling goes against this tough guy who can box? Well, the guy who has grappling takes him down, submits him. End of story. That was not interesting. Then it was interesting. Now it's not. When George fought Matt Hughes, that was interesting. Both can strike, both can grapple. Let's see what happens. Matt Hughes was technically the better grappler, but he got out grappled by George. He submitted him the first time they fought, so it's even crazier. Both grapplers, one's a wrestler, and he throws up an armbar on a far side, pulls it, and wins. That is compelling. That's a style matchup that was interesting. The dominant grappler who likes to gain top position versus another dominant grappler who can maul you and put you in bad positions, but the guy who can maul you pulled up with a submission. That's styles make fights. That's an interesting style matchup. Stephen Thompson versus Darren Till. That's a style matchup. The fight might not have been that entertaining and that exciting and exhilarating when it happened, but that is a style matchup. That's you putting in a person of a similar style, some differences in what they do, and you got to see how those two things collided. But when you put grappler versus striker and say style matchup, it's not. The style favors the person whose skill set they're more inept with. Conor is a better striker, but Khabib's a much better grappler than Conor is a striker. That was obvious. And Khabib has just enough mixed martial arts skills to mix up between those things and get to the grappling. The strikes land because the grappling works. If he had complete disregard for the takedown and knew that he could stop it every time, he wouldn't have even been hesitant to throw. And his coach talked about it on the Joe Rogan podcast, talked about a lot of things, saying mostly that they trained to not lose. They figured that they were going to win just instinctively, but they trained to not lose. They trained to defend as opposed to attack, and there was opportunities where he could have been more aggressive for the attack, but they were preparing to defend more and to be more on the back foot, which is bad because you should be planning to attack and counter and be more aggressive, especially, and not be more aggressive, but just be more counter-active to what your opponent's doing. If you know they like to get takedowns and you can't really stop their takedowns, you should be training ways to misdirect their takedowns or force them to take bad takedowns. Like, you should be doing something that is countering, but not necessarily just reactionary countering, something that's more proactive countering. Like, if you know someone throws a lot of head kicks, you want to kind of give him the assumption that you're not going to move fast and you're not going to slip fast. And you as a counter, you kind of stand taller than usual. And when that head kick looks like it's coming, you get underneath that thing. That's a proactive defense. But if you just see the head kick, duck it, it's reactive. Yes, it works. It will get you under it. But the proactive defense would have been to put him in a position to make him throw that head kick and force him to do it. And they really weren't working for that. And it showed in Conor's performance that it wasn't working for it. It also showed that Conor has been out for a long time. It really showed that he'd been out for a long time. And that's a good excuse. It's one that a lot of people will fall to. They'll be like, I heard that ring rust. But it showed that he just didn't have that killer instinct, that edge, that I need to get you out of here in him. He had it mentally. He had it verbally. But he didn't have it when he got in the octagon. And who knows what that was? But not to say the man. I mean, Cerrone and Conor have something similar in common, and it's something weird about them. You know, they get into a fight, and when they're faced with adversity, or they're faced with some sort of, not that they're not tough, because these guys are grizzled veterans, super tough, can hurt you anywhere, can be hurt anywhere, has been hurt anywhere. It's just they hit this wall where they just can't, and they can't cross it. And Conor hit that wall. Don't let the third round fool you. Between the second round and the third round, he verbally, there's video of it, verbally told Khabib it's only business, like as if he was trying to like apologize almost about everything. Like if he was trying to apologize in some way, he said it's only business. Like as if he was trying to say, "Hey man, calm down, bro. You ain't got pain on my head like this, man. It's only business." You know what I'm saying? But that's a chink in his armor, and I think he hits a point where we all have weakness. People have it in video games. People have it in real life. Everybody has some form of weakness. A lot of players. I think this fight is actually a perfect example of that. When you get to the end of this fight, you're gonna be like, "What happened? What happened to the RDA that we saw flying across the cage with body kicks?" People reach this point where they don't think they can win anymore, and they have that glimpse of weakness that just seeps in. And once it seeps in, it can just eat at you real fast. And that glimpse of weakness will make you it'll make you quit. It'll make you give up. Everybody has that moment of clarity in their mind in a situation that becomes tougher. As it becomes tougher, you just find that urge to just quit. You're like, I just don't want to do this anymore. I'm not going to win. I just don't want. Everybody has that moment. And I think he has that moment a lot in his fights. And it shows. When he's pushed, he has that moment. Everybody has that time where they have to gut check. Khabib had that gut check moment against Michael Johnson. He jumped in there thinking that this guy can't hurt me. This guy ain't nothing. I'm going to smash him. And this guy laid fireballs on his chin. And he just immediately shelled up and changed his approach and got real defensive. And it kind of waited a little bit until he saw Michael Johnson weighing. And then his mind pushed through. Then he pushed through. He was like, okay, I'm here. He ain't. He's starting to get weak. I'm about to get him. And that's when his mind hit that breakthrough. And some people hit that breakthrough. Some people hit that wall. But, I think Conor hits that wall. And I don't know if he pushes through all the time. He hits that wall and kind of shuts off. But he looked like he might have pushed past it because he came back in the third round and he was doing some good work, landing some shots, and his cardio looked better. He looked sharper. But in the fourth round, Khabib just did what Khabib does. He dove for a takedown from 80 yards away and got a hold of him. Conor tried to advance position to try to get out of it. He just tried to get out, just recklessly trying to get out. And Khabib took his back, put a neck crank on him, got a hold of that jaw. You can say what you want about tapping the neck cranks, but I don't know anybody that wants their jaw broken. I mean, if you want your jaw broken, go run it right into a wall. Because that's what you're saying when you put in a neck crank. When you put in a neck crank that's across the line of your chin, you saying, yes, please, Mr. Khabib, with your strong, burly arms, break my jaw for me, please. Just go ahead and snap it for me one time. I'll eat soup for a month and still lose this fight. I'm still going to lose this fight, but I'll eat soup for a month just to look tough. If it was under his chin, then you put in a situation where it's like fear for your life or go to sleep. And in most cases, the chokes can't kill you. Just go to sleep. But some people tap, and Conor taps. When he's in a situation where it's like, okay, it's done, you tap. But most people who start jiu-jitsu first start with the philosophy of when it's done, you tap. When you're in it, when you're locked in, you tap. You don't need to get hurt. You don't need to get choked unconscious. When it's done, you tap out. And that's how jiu-jitsu schools you. It doesn't school you, you're a warrior, tough it out, punch your arms and pass out. Doesn't teach you that. Nobody in anybody's gym is going to say, hey, when you get caught in a submission in the round, you better not tap out. You better go out. No, they say tap out, get back up, reset, go back to grappling. Excuse my cough, I hit the microphone. They tell you to go back to grappling. But it was a crazy, crazy turn of events. Then it turned to a brawl, which I'm not going to discuss. I'm just not going to discuss it. It was a brawl. Things happened. People were hot. People were mad. Words were exchanged. Conor went far out of his norm into the book of things that he wanted to discuss at the press conference. He normally doesn't have that much dirt on people because most of these guys are pretty hard to get that type of information on. So he usually has to rely on more like comical things that are more silly and satirical. But in this situation, there was a lot of things that he wanted to bring to light about Khabib's past and his connections and the people he knows. And he wanted to really dig the knife and it wasn't, he said, it's only business. It wasn't for business sake. As I talked about earlier, they had a friendship, they had a relationship, and that went south. and that relationship went south. So it was not for business, like he said. That was just him. That was that urge for him to quit. That was that urge for him to quit. Even if it was a ploy to get in Khabib's head, even if it was like, I give up, I'm sorry, I give up, and then try to come out and blast him in the next round. Even if it was that, it still gives off that quit, that I quit, I give up mentality. And it's a natural human reaction to give up. And if you are sitting at your house judging how a fighter, when a fighter hits that point of surrender, you have no idea the type of hardship that they go through to get to that point. You don't know how hard you have to push to get a fighter to the point where he gives up on himself. These are people that die daily in the gym. These are people that go out and they purposefully inflict as much physical damage on themselves, training and getting prepared for these fights and sharpening their weapons. They die daily in the gym. So when a guy that does that gives up, he has reached a point physically and mentally where he does not see any feasible way of passing. That's not like someone whose girlfriend leaves them and they're ready to kill themselves. It happens. It's a true moment of clarity where you have to push through some things. It's not like that. That's heart. That's psychological. That's your feelings. That's your emotions. That's different. But when your physical body and you can't imagine being able to move past that wall. Your physical body, it's a different thing. It's a gut check moment, and it hurts you more than you think. Everybody's been put in a situation where something happens and there's heartbreak, and the heartbreak causes you to really struggle to get past, the way you're feeling in that moment, but you're able to push past it. But you do have that moment in there still where you don't think that you will make it, but then you think about it. My heart's broken, but I'm not going to die from this. When you're in a fist fight and your physical systems start to break down and you're like, I can't punch as fast. I can't move as fast. I'm breathing so hard that my heart feels like it's going to beat out of my chest. You really hit that point where you feel like you are going to die. You can die. You hit that point. And it's not an excuse for any fighter who gives up in the octagon. It's not an excuse because, like I said, it takes a lot to get those guys to give up. It's not something that they do regularly. They don't look for reasons to give up. They get put in situations where they don't feel like they can get past that point. If you've ever trained, if you've ever done grappling, if you've ever done any sort of like physical combatants, not just activity. I play basketball, so I know what it's like. You might. There are points in basketball games where you just don't see a way. But when you are fighting another person and they have control of how much damage you take, how much pain you feel, how hard it is for you, when that other person has that control, you hit a different point in your mind. You hit a different point in that space, and you have to there's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do to prepare for that other than to put yourself there as often as you can. Be in the gym with better guys who put you in bad situations and make you miserable. That way you know that when you're in a miserable situation, you can at least look at it and go, that's not as miserable as the last time I got put in this choke. I can get out of this. He ain't as strong as the last guy that got me here. I can push him down and get past this. You got to put yourself there more often than not. And I think Conor trains hard. His coaches make it sound like he trains incredibly hard. But I don't know if he gets pushed to that point where he just wants to quit daily. That point that he hits where he starts giving up on himself, that's the point he needs to hit every time he trains, every time he spars, every time he grapples with a better grappler. He needs to hit that point where he's like, I can either quit here or I can shrimp my hips and get this position and get back to guard. Or I can quit here or I can get a hold of him, hold him in the clinch for a couple seconds, land a couple body shots, back away and get my footing and try to get my breath. You got to get put there often. You got to get put there by people that you don't think they care about your well-being. You got to be in an unsafe, hostile environment. He says it's like that. He says it's war in the gym. But every time you see training footage, he's getting the better of the guys. He's hurting them. He's putting them down. He's putting hands on them. Where's the footage of him in them trenches really getting worked out? Because when you have that propensity to quit, that's where you need to be. You need to be deep in that bag where you feel like you're going to give up every time out. But Khabib was able to put him there. He's able to put a lot of guys there. That grinding wrestling style, being able to take somebody down and put pressure on them, always kind of takes the energy out of people. And you make cowards of men once their cardio's gone. Conor's about 171 pounds. He cuts to 55, so it's not a big cut for him. Khabib's about 180 pounds. He cuts to 55. It's a bigger cut for him, a little bit bigger. A little bit more weight on him on fight night as well. So he had the strength advantage, had the power advantage, had the grappling edge, and it showed, and it should have showed. If anything different than that happened, that would have been something crazy. But when you make those style fights, the style of the person who has the better skill set for the sport is going to win. You put 2 3-point shooters in a one-on-one contest, or a 3-point shooter and a guy who has to drive the lane in a one-on-one basketball game, but the 3-point shooter has good defense. Who's going to win that? The 3-point shooter. He doesn't even have to try to get to the inside. He's got the range to shoot from wherever he wants to shoot from. He doesn't have to push for the inside to get the points. The other guy has to. He has to get past the 3-point shooter to score. 3-point shooter don't have to get past him. He just need a little bit of space so he can get a look at the basket, and boom, he's winning. And that's what you saw. That's what you saw. A guy who had a way to win that was much more conducive to his skill set, and the other guy had to look for basically miracle. A one-punch knockout or a hard shot to rock him and stun him. Like, it sounds good on paper. He's got one-shot power. He can knock anybody out with one shot, but sometimes you can't. Sometimes guys can take shots. Sometimes you can't get in positions to hit guys with shots that's hard enough to put them out. And that's what you saw. It's been Bryant, the Apex Gaming Channel. Hope you enjoyed the video. It's kind of ranty, kind of long, but there's heart in it. So, see you guys on the next video. As soon as that is, whenever that is. I don't know these things. I just do them when they come to me. You know what I'm saying? See you guys on this one. See you guys later, man. Peace out.
Ladies and gentlemen, referee Mario Yamasaki is called to stop this contest at 4 minutes, 27 seconds of round number 3. Declaring the winner by